We're talking today with Mark Lazerus, beat reporter with the Chicago Sun-Times, covers the Chicago Blackhawks. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the upcoming game. The Blackhawks, of course, coming into town on Sunday to play the Canucks at Rogers Arena. Always a game the fans look forward to. They love watching the Hawks play. High-skilled team, really exciting, great uniforms too. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what the Hawks are doing right now. They're just embarking, during this trip to Vancouver. That's part of their so-called circus trip, where the circus comes into United Center once a year, and the Hawks are kind of out of the way, and they have to, put together this long road trip to be away in time for the circus to be through there. I know that these long trips, they go through Western Canada, down the west coast of the U.S., playing teams. These trips can be a challenge, but it seems like historically the Hawks have done well in these trips. Why do you think that is, and what's the sort of the mood of the team heading into this trip?
Yeah, actually, they do two of these a year. The circus comes into town around American Thanksgiving, and then in late January, early February, they come again when Disney on Ice comes to United Center. And historically, they've done very well. During the lockout season, when they won the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup, a lot of the guys credited that early ice show trip. They did great on it. They were obviously undefeated on it, as really kind of sparking them down the season. The guys like it. They get away from the distractions of home. A lot of them have young kids at home. They probably sleep better on the road. They like playing Mario Kart in the common areas of the hotel. They get into that nice rhythm. And this circus trip isn't nearly as bad as it's been in the past. It's 6 games, but 2 of them are in L.A. They have 3 nights in Denver, 3 nights in L.A. It's not nearly as hectic as it's been. So as far as circus trips goes, this one's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's actually sounds like a lot of fun. I wish I was on it. I was going to ask you also, just, I look at the Hawks, and you look at their stats, where they are in the standings, and I realize it's early days yet, but, they're not leading the conference like you might expect, like maybe some prognosticators had thought they would be the team to beat for the Stanley Cup, and they certainly may be. But if you look at their stats, the one thing that's a little bit surprising for me, their stats defensively very good. Corey Crawford's had a very good start. Their advanced stats, of course, he's good as a team. But if you look at the power play and goals scored, they're actually kind of mid-pack, which is a bit surprising, with the kind of firepower they have. And you look at, guys like Hossa, Patrick Sharp, had a bit of a slow start. What's going on there?
Well, I think they're waiting for it the kind of the dam to burst. Like you said, their Corsi is through the roof. They had a lot of games. They had 45, 50 shots on goal and only getting 1 or 2 goals on them. Ran into some hot goalies early. A couple of guys were slumping. Patrick Kane is just coming out of a slump. Marian Hossa is just coming out of a slump. Patrick Sharp's been hurt the last couple of weeks after his slow start. I don't think anyone's really worried around the Hawks. I think they kind of have the same mentality the Kings do, that let's just get through the regular season, let's get into the playoffs, who cares what seed we are. The Kings won as an 8 seed and a 6 seed. The Hawks last year weren't very high, and they made it to 1 goal away from the Stanley Cup final. I think you see a lack of motivation some nights. I think when you make so many deep runs, it can be hard to get up for a mid-November game in Detroit, and then by the time they turn it on in the third period, it's too late. We've seen that a few times. They're trying not to do that, but I think at this stage that they're lacking that, and they're trying to overcome that. It's been better lately. The goals are starting to come in. And for a guy like Kane and a guy like Hossa, once they start going in, they're going to come in bunches.
Absolutely. Last thing I wanted to ask you about was, the Hawks and the Canucks had a heated, very, very visceral 3 years of playoff confrontations. 2 of them, the first 2 won by the Hawks, the last one, 2011, of course, won by the Canucks. Tremendous series, wonderful series. I know a lot of hatred, a lot of angst between these 2 teams during that time, and some carryover. It's now 2014. What do you sense from fans in Chicago and the players themselves? Does that connection, is it still there, or is that kind of yesterday's news?
It's still there, but it's not nearly as heated as it was a few years ago, like you said. I mean, you lose guys like Ryan Kessler, kind of these flashpoints of this rivalry. That's part of it. They haven't played in the playoffs. The Canucks have kind of been supplanted by the Blues. They had the Blues are a geographical rival, a division rival. They had the great series last year with the Seabrook hit on Backus, the wakey Backus stuff. A lot of guys to hate on the Blues if you're a Blackhawks fan. Guys like Backus, guys like Barrett Jackman. There'll always be that. It's kind of like the Red Wings now. The Red Wings used to be the Hawks' biggest rivalry. It still means something. It still means more than playing the Flames or playing the Lightning. But the Canucks are now in that second tier of rivalry, I think, behind the Blues.
Great answer, Mark. I think that the fans are really going to enjoy seeing the Hawks, and I'm sure that local families, obviously, with Brent Seabrook and Keith is, of course, from Penticton, so there's a lot of connections here. But anyway, great to talk with you, Mark. Thanks very much for your time. This is Mark Lazerus from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Thanks, appreciate it.